Okay, the first major organelle that we're going to go over is going to be called the plasma membrane. So there are two learning objectives here that we're going to be sort of covering at the same time. One of your learning objectives is to summarize the functions of the major cell organelles. And you can see all these in figure 4.8. You can see both a plant cell and an animal cell. For the most part, these two things have most things in common. And then at the end, we'll talk about some of the differences between plants and animals. The plasma membrane is such an important organelle that it got its own learning objective. So sometimes I will modify them, and if I do, I will let you know. But the learning objective says state the role of the plasma membrane, and I also want you to be able to identify the structures. And so in the book, you can see they have a very good diagram, figure 4.9. And so you should be able to identify the different parts of the plasma membrane. So the plasma membrane is what surrounds a cell. So this is a typical animal cell. All of this blue that you see here and that they've cut away from in the front, so you can see it would cover all of this, that's the plasma membrane. It's going to have several different functions. As we just said, sort of the first one is, this is what defines the inside versus the outside of a cell. And that goes for any cell. All the cells we talk about this semester, every one will have a plasma membrane, whether you are a prokaryotic cell or a eukaryotic cell. This is the defining characteristic between inside and outside environment. A second thing that it does, this is what will allow things to come in and out of the cell. The plasma membrane is the toll booth. So if you want to come in, you have to cross the plasma membrane. If you want to leave, you have to cross the plasma membrane. So there are lots of different things that have to come in and out. We have things like water, essential for every cell. About 60 to 80% of a cell is water. In order to function properly, you need electrolytes or ions. So you often hear sports drinks touting that they have electrolytes. Well, they have ions in them. These are things like potassium and calcium and sodium. These are important for functioning of the cell, but they have to come in and out of the cell. They have to cross the plasma membrane. You also need certain gases to come in and out. In particular, you need O2, oxygen, to come in, and carbon dioxide to go out. So this plasma membrane is going to allow for the passage of gases in and out of the cell. And then you also have non-gases. You need to get nutrients in, and you need to get waste out. So all the food that is needed for a cell has got to get in. It will have to cross the plasma membrane. Waste that is created by the cell needs to get out, so it will be moving across the plasma membrane. Another thing that it has, and this is especially important for us because as animals, this is our outer shell of every cell. So therefore, it's very important for protection. So this is what is going to, since this is the defining character between inside and outside, this is what is also protecting everything inside the cell. And then a fourth function is, this is very important for the shape of the cell. So this is the defining outside character, so it's also what gives us shape. These are the functions or the roles of the plasma membrane. But I also want you to know the different components. And so these are all in that figure. So we'll go over it and I'll make a brief sketch so you know which ones to focus on. You'll notice in the figure, and I'm just drawing up to make sure I got the colors right. Yep. You'll see a lot of red balls in there, and they have two little yellow legs that are coming off of them. And you'll notice that they're arranged in this layer that is sort of back to back. These molecules, each individual molecule here, this is called a phospholipid. Phospholipid. So it's composed of a polar head and two nonpolar tails. We'll go into the chemistry of it later. But this one molecule is a phospholipid. So therefore, when you have two layers of them, this is called the phospholipid bilayer. Bi means two. And so all of those phospholipids combined in the two rows form a bilayer. Another important component are proteins. You'll notice that some of those proteins are going to go all the way through that phospholipid bilayer. So I'll draw a few more phospholipids here so that you can see a protein embedded within this. If the protein goes all the way across, it is called an integral protein. If, however, it only goes halfway across, so I'll draw it so you can see that this one does not go all the way across. And there's some more phospholipids. Then it is called a peripheral protein. Now they put one more name in there for proteins. They've put in there a channel protein. A channel protein is just one specific peripheral protein. So it is not a different thing. It is just a specific type of integral protein. So the two major types are integral and peripheral. Channel is just a type of integral protein. Also embedded in there, you'll see molecules every once in a while that are between some of these phospholipids. These green molecules, they're yellow in your book. This is cholesterol. Cholesterol is like that tar that they put in between the different pieces of concrete on the highway. These phospholipids can expand and contract. And so you need something in there to sort of hold it as a squishy barrier. Just like the cement on the highway will expand and contract, you need something to fill the space or to get pushed up so that they don't buckle as it gets hot and cold. Cholesterol is what gives your membranes flexibility. And we can see that if you push on your skin, you notice you have a lot of flexibility. A lot of that comes from the cholesterol within the individual cells. Two other things I want you to know on here. You're going to notice that some of the phospholipids have little antennae. Those are called glycolipids. It's a combination of a carbohydrate, the glycol, and the lipid, the phospholipid. We'll talk about these later, about their importance, but these are going to be how cells communicate with the outside. For instance, when the COVID virus is trying to find out where to go, it's going to be looking for different types of antennae. Antennae can also come out of proteins, and then they would be called glycoproteins. Combination of a carbohydrate and a protein. But these antennas, like I say, they are always going to be made up of carbohydrate. If they attach to a protein, a glycoprotein. If the carbohydrate attaches to a lipid, it'll be a glycolipid. These are the structures that you need to know.